Hi, and welcome to the CLEO Edge podcast. I'm JC Polanco. I'm the CEO of CLEO Inc. I want to thank you for joining us today in our third CLEO Edge podcast. We're very excited because today we have an American hero. This is someone who we're so excited to bring to you. Brigadier General Ronald Sullivan, Chief Judge of the Criminal Court of Appeals for the U.S. Army JAG Corps, is here with us today. Now, I can't wait to start our conversation. Brigadier General is an incredible individual. He is a CLEO alum. He's a graduate of Howard University, the University of Kansas, an incredibly highly decorated Army JAG officer who has reached the apogee of the JAG Corps. So without any further ado, I'd like to welcome to the program Brigadier General Ronald Sullivan. Welcome, General. Thank you so much for joining us today at the CLEO Edge podcast.
Oh, JC, it's my pleasure to be here, man. I really appreciate it. Thank you for having me on your show.
It's been great to see you in action, General. I know we met at the Hispanic National Bar Association, and we're celebrating Hispanic Heritage Month, and we saw you there speaking to students from all over the country, wanting to learn more about the Army and JAG Corps and being an attorney. It was great to see you and your team there. I know that diversity is very important for you, General. Before we hear about your background and your incredible contributions, I want to hear more about some of the work that you're doing as far as diversity and traveling the country.
Okay, well, JC, my mandate really comes from our boss, Lieutenant General Stuart Risch. He's the 41st Judge Advocate General of the Army, and he and I spoke back in March of this year, and because diversity is important to him and he knows it's important to me, he asked me to spend some time this fall once schools started back up and getting out to the most diverse schools, law schools in the country. So we have targeted specifically Texas, New York, California, and Florida, Washington, D.C., as well as North Carolina Central down in North Carolina and Southern University down in Louisiana. I wanted to make sure that one thing first and foremost, that while some students may not know about the Army JAG Corps and others do, we want to make sure that everyone is clear that the Army JAG Corps is open to everyone. All genders, both male, female, our LGBTQ community, folks from all different walks of life, and the doors are open. We're looking for more judge advocates, and we want our JAG Corps to look more like our service and the country.
It's so invigorating to hear that, General. I know that diversity today is more important than ever. I know you've been in the Army serving our country for a very long time, and you were there when it wasn't so diverse. And you were there when diversity wasn't the cool term in business and in the military. So you're one of the trailblazers for a lot of us. I want to hear more about, and I want our students and our participants to hear more about you come from San Antonio, Texas. What motivated you to join the Army? What motivated you to become a JAG officer and an attorney? I really think that your story is so inspiring. Would you care to share some of that with us?
Well, yeah, actually, I come from a military family. My dad was an Air Force first sergeant, and so I'd been around the military for a while. I originally wanted to fly planes, but I'm colorblind, and a conversation with him pretty much geared me up to choose my path, and I chose the Army using the Army ROTC scholarship. That was the way our family decided to find some economic freedom and get me to get my undergraduate degree. So I took it to Howard University, as you said before. I then finished ROTC, asked the Army to let me go to law school before serving. They gave me a 3-year delay to do that. After I finished law school, I was then selected to join the JAG Corps. And the rest is history. My dad was very instrumental, and my mom, who passed away last week, was tremendously instrumental. And we mourn her loss tremendously, but everything that I am, I owe it to her and my dad.
My condolences, General, on the loss of your mom. She did incredible work, and we're so proud that she was able to do so much, because you are, in fact, an inspiration. You went to an HBCU, General. I was I was just at the HBCU pre-law conference in Washington. Incredible program. And I wanted to know, how was your experience at Howard University? You were doing ROTC, and I know that you're a member of Alpha Phi Alpha, one of my favorite organizations. How was that? How was attending HBCU and doing ROTC at the same time?
Well, I'll tell you that the community of students and faculty at an HBCU, there's something special there. One, of course, Howard University has a storied history back to its founding, even to now. There's it's cranking out leaders of the Black community, and of course not just the Black community, of the world. And what I can tell you about being at an HBCU gives every student, it gives you an incubator environment, a place where everyone is pushing and pulling for you. You don't feel like a number. You don't feel odd or out of place. You feel oftentimes like you're somewhat like at a family reunion every day. So you're in classes with your brothers, your sisters, your cousins, folks from down the street. You feel like you're back at your neighborhood. And of course, your professors and instructors and advisors really are more like family members, those folks in your community who are looking out for you to help prod you along and help ensure that you're successful. But what they do is try to pull the best out of you and motivate you and point you in the right direction. They try to be that family member, that mom or dad who's way back across the country. Of course, for some people, it's a legacy situation where families are second, third, fourth generation at that HBCU, as I have several in my class and several good friends who are legacies. But we were able to all get together and share in the melting pot of education and the educational system.
That's a beautiful thing. I heard so many stories of the HBCU community. It's really a bond and a family that is built that lasts a lifetime. So
Absolutely.
There are a lot of our students that are at CLEO that come from HBCUs. General, how did you hear about CLEO, and tell me about your CLEO experience?
Absolutely. Well, you asked a few moments ago about Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated, and I'm a member of Beta Chapter, which was founded at Howard. And what I can tell you is one of my fraternity brothers had a friend or a advisor who had some touch with CLEO. And in my junior year, that was the first time I'd ever heard of it. And he had finished the program. What was really great about it was the next year when I was able to apply and I was accepted. The CLEO experience, I can tell you from day one, where you're being instructed on how to brief a case. You're being explained the steps and the parts to a case and why that's important was tremendously beneficial to my education once I got to law school, because I wasn't starting on day one figuring out those things that some students didn't figure out until weeks 3 or 4. I already had that jump start before even showing up to the University of Kansas. So I went in 1993 to the University of Richmond's campus, and it was really a different experience just to be in a law school, being treated like an adult, to be treated like an advanced college student, but more importantly, to be in an environment where the instructors, the faculty members who are there really were pouring into us those little nuggets to help us start our days, from the legal writing class, the con law class, and then the criminal law class that we had. It was just an amazing experience.
That's an incredible story. We hear stories like yours often by our alumni who have gone through the process. Now, do you keep in contact with the people that you bonded with during that time at CLEO? And can you tell us about how was that? How was it working with other students? And I know that you had gone to an HBCU, so seeing folks that looked like yourself wasn't new. But was there a new experience that you weren't accustomed to while you were there?
Not really. I think the new experience there was the fact that we were all trudging forward to law school. So the experience of bonding together, working together, and trying to assist each other as best we could in studying together, encouraging each other. Some students had not yet been accepted to law school, which CLEO was definitely beneficial for. several of the students in my class were actually accepted to the University of Richmond, if I remember correctly. And there were others who, because of their experience at CLEO and the recommendation from CLEO, that's what got them into the law school, or got them off of a waiting list into the actual student body at their various law schools. What's interesting about CLEO is the very next year I served as a TA at the University of Notre Dame at their law school for the CLEO group there. I actually met my wife there. So she's CLEO 94, Notre Dame. And at our wedding 3 years later, we were definitely graced with the presence of about 4 or 5 different CLEO alums from that exact program. So the Notre Dame program more than the Richmond program for me, but absolutely. So CLEO's been in my life for quite a while now.
That is such a great story.
I have you and your predecessors to thank for some of the successes in my life.
That is such a great story, General. Can I tell you, because not only can you end up becoming General and Chief Judge for the Criminal Court of Appeals for the U.S. Army, but we also provide you with a love connection.
Absolutely.
General, that's such a great story. And your wife is also an attorney.
Yes, absolutely, yes. She works for the National Institutes of Health, working in freedom of information as a FOIA specialist, yes.
Wow, that's incredible, isn't it? You know, Generals, you came in to the Army JAG Corps at a time of very little diversity. How was that like for you, having come from an HBCU, coming from San Antonio, and now joining the JAG Corps? How was it for you?
Well, for me, it was coming from San Antonio, of course. Primarily, I grew up on the east side of San Antonio, predominantly an African-American community, African-American and Hispanic, and also then going to Howard with a true immersion experience, also being in an urban area like Washington, D.C. That was great, and there was nothing odd about that for me. But moving to the University of Kansas in Lawrence where there were 13 African-American students in my law school. That was the most we had there in my 3-year period. But I had learned to make friends. I understand how the world goes around. My parents gave me a good, solid foundation of reaching out, letting differences and similarities bring people together. So I was never a stranger to that. Also, with my ROTC background, I had operated in non-diverse environments pretty regularly. So I took that experience, and once I joined the JAG Corps, so the first office I was at the 10th Mountain Division at Fort Drum, New York, where my staff judge advocate, or the general counsel of our office, a gentleman by the name of Colonel Larry Morris, was really instrumental in helping look out for me, guide me, direct me. But that office, he didn't, even with a non-diverse office, being the only African-American attorney in the office, there was nothing about being a part of his team that made me feel alone or different. And using everyone's strengths and everyone's backgrounds, whether you're in legal assistance, administrative law, or criminal law, we all still work together. I can tell you that since that experience, since that time, I think it's the case in many places in our legal practice where you can find yourself as the only or one of just one or two, a handful of African-American attorneys. That's not unusual for me, so it's not an uncomfortable circumstance. But of course, I do what I can in servant leadership and mentoring based on those folks who've come ahead of me and poured into me to try to help develop and help bring along other attorneys behind me, African-American, women, LGBTQ. It's just the thing. Just because someone's different from the majority doesn't mean that they don't have all the skills and abilities. And I just believe everyone should be given the chance to show that. And I've tried to be a champion for that my entire career, the time that I've had to be able to affect other people's careers.
And you've done an amazing job, General, doing so. I want our listeners and our viewers to hear more about the experience of being an officer and an attorney and now a judge in the U.S. Army. I want to give our especially our students that are interested in this, how can they go about this, finding out more information. But before we do, General, as I promised, we have a lightning round.
Okay.
And this is the moment where we're going to ask you 5 questions or so, and it's going to be quick. But I think it's important for listeners to know that the general has a life outside of being a general in the Army. So give me 1 second. Here we go. Okay, so General, we got to ask, like we ask everyone, Android or iPhone?
Android all day.
Oh, yes. See, I was telling our producer, Android's the way to go. Now, this is important now. Facebook or Instagram?
Instagram, but Facebook as long as you turn on the post to my Instagram story.
Okay, fair enough. If you were not an attorney and you were not a JAG, what other career would you have chosen? What other path?
I'd be a computer program, absolutely.
Interesting. I wouldn't have thought that. I would have thought actor of some kind. With that Denzel look of yours, General.
Thank you.
Favorite sports team?
Dallas Cowboys. Well, hold on. My son plays for the Purdue Boilermakers. He's a wide receiver, number 81. So Purdue Boilermakers and then Dallas Cowboys.
Interesting. So I won't ask you if Army were to ever to play Purdue, who you're rooting for, General. I'm going to let you off the hook.
We're going with Purdue Boilermakers, touchdown to 81 in the corner to win the game.
All right. Toughest place you've been stationed?
Toughest place I've been stationed. I need a little context. Toughest place. Well,
weather?
Fort Drum, New York.
Fort Drum, New York. Can I tell you? I knew you were going to say that. Because
the average is 6 below in the winter. 6 below in the winter is the average. So once you experience that for the first time, I think everyone agree that's the toughest place to be stationed.
I knew that before I even wrote it down. Thank you, General, for participating in our lightning round. Hey, just want to let you know that our CLEO Honors Edge reception is this November 17th in Washington, D.C. at the Greenberg Trial offices. Please consider RSVPing on our website, cleoinc.org. That's CLEOINC.org. It's going to be a wonderful event. We are honoring diversity trailblazers from around the country. Please visit our website to RSVP. We would love to see you there. You know, I'd like to ask an important question for our viewers and our listeners. There are a lot of law students, a lot of pre-law students specifically, who are thinking about what kind of attorney do they want to be. They're thinking about their future. They're concerned about, what kind of law am I going to practice? I know from our conversations, General, that the Army JAG Corps has been incredible, and they're making a really important push to diversify the legal profession and work with diverse pipelines and diversity pipelines like CLEO. I want you to tell our students, tell our viewers, why the Army JAG Corps? What can they benefit from if they were to consider applying? And what's the process like? And what could they expect?
Well, I can tell you first, the number one place to go is jagcnet.army.mil/JARO. That's jagcnet.army.mil/JARO, Judge Advocate Recruiting Office. And that's the Army's initial entry point for 1L internships, 2L internships, even some externships can be worked out, as well as the 3L program to apply to become an Army Judge Advocate. The process is an application, full application, and then an interview with a field screening officer. We have many stationed around the country. After the interview process, the applications go in. So October 30th or November 1st is the cutoff day for those applications. And then we usually have announcements the 22nd of November. So the first selectees are made then. And from there through the end of the year and into the spring, those individuals who are selected to join the JAG Corps as first lieutenants for the following year go through a process of physicals, a few other background check issues, and once they pass the bar, are allowed to join our first cohorts of classes the following fall, October and January, and even as late as March of the next year. Every student goes to a direct commissioning course, and then to the Army JAG course. It's about 6 weeks and then 11 weeks. And that indoctrination course at the JAG school basically exposes every new judge advocate to the various areas of law: administrative law, national security law, our criminal law practice using the Uniform Code of Military Justice, various regulatory areas, our legal assistance practice, where the Army has its own Soldiers and Family Services area where we do our own legal aid internally. That time is really one to get everyone's feet settled and everyone on the same solid ground, because in the Army JAG Corps, you don't carry someone else's briefcase. You carry your own briefcase, and you'll become a captain within 6 to 8 months. In that time from lieutenant to captain, and in your entire captain period, everyone looks to you as the lawyer in the room, and the subject matter expert supervisors around you are all here to help make you succeed. And where there's no rat race of competition amongst each other, where there's anyone who does anything that's not brotherly or sisterly or teammate-like, where you might find in other organizations. We're a public law, public interest law program. In fact, we're the oldest law firm in the country, founded in 1775 when George Washington said to a gentleman by the name of Lieutenant Colonel William Tudor, you'll be the Army's Judge Advocate General, and you'll be responsible for good order and discipline. So here is a place where no matter what you want to do, entertainment law with your future, torts litigation with your future, claims, disability law, if you want to go be an appellate attorney before the Supreme Court or some other appellate court, anything that you want to do, the context of practicing law in the Army JAG Corps is one that gets you a great foundation. Now, we of course are interviewing everyone, and we're recruiting for people to join the team. We hope you stay. I've been in the Army JAG Corps for 26 years, and I'm going to tell you, this has been the best ever. So I was on active duty for 9 years, and then I switched to the Army Reserve, where in my reserve capacity, I've done tremendous jobs in leadership, as well as advising commanders, as well as litigating cases. In my civilian capacity, today I'm a government contractor, an acquisition law specialist, and I practice government acquisition law. I'm also the chief of acquisition, personnel, and ethics law at Army Futures Command. So I've got a dual life. So everyone doesn't have to be in uniform full time. We're looking for folks who want to even pursue their own dreams in their civilian capacity, but join us in our Army Reserve opportunities. We even have the opportunity for people to join us in the National Guard. Lawyers are here in the National Guard as well as the Army Reserve, as we have 750 plus civilians. So our Army practice is one that you can come get experience, and we'd like to keep it on the team, but we also understand that everyone's not here to stay. You cannot go wrong with the foundation of the Army JAG Corps practice.
That's amazing. General, you mentioned you carry your own briefcase starting right away. Can a first lieutenant, a brand new JAG officer, expect to see a courtroom and actually participate in trial work?
I would say yes. Several are. Everyone doesn't, but there are several where they are standing right now. In fact, we have trial counsel, which are prosecutors. We have special victims counsel. We have military justice advocates. We have defense counsel even, who are sometime in their first term. But I can tell you, absolutely, you're doing your own work. You're rarely ever doing someone else's work for them to put their signature on. There are times where you're writing for the boss even, and being relied upon heavily to come through.
And how does where can one be stationed after becoming a JAG officer? And Is there someone that decides? Can someone have input? What can you expect? What can you expect to see as far as locations?
Well, during the application process, preferences are filled out. And then we have an office called the Personnel Plans and Training Office. They work for our boss in the office of the Judge Advocate General. And, with special magic that happens behind the scenes, they identify a location. But we have military bases all around the world. So some folks are stationed in bases in Germany, some in Korea, several, of course, all across the United States. When you met me, when we saw each other at the Hispanic National Bar Association, we had attorneys there from all over, including one from Hawaii. We have locations everywhere.
So you also get the opportunity to travel the world. I mean, really, that's just
Absolutely.
a bonus.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You shouldn't expect to be anywhere more than about 3 years, sometimes 4. And there are some people who'll tell you they move about every 2 years by preference.
Well,
But there's a diverse practice here.
that's wonderful. General, where are some places that you've been stationed before?
Well, I've been stationed at Fort Drum, as we talked about. My second duty location was on active duty was at Fort Meade, Maryland. Then I went to the Army's U.S. Army Legal Services Agency headquarters. It was in Boston, Virginia. Now it's at Fort Belvoir. And then I was stationed in Crystal City, Virginia, and Guantanamo Bay with the Office of Military Commissions.
Wow, what an incredible tour, huh?
Absolutely.
So
And then my reserve duty has taken me to many other cities across the country.
that's just a beautiful thing, and we know that a lot of young people that have never had that opportunity, they know that with the Army JAG Corps, this is actually part of the whole experience.
Absolutely. Part of it is the fact that every one of our judge advocates, very few specialize just in one area. And even where everyone can choose to have a specialty and continue to hone that specialty, every one of us gets the ability to develop in multiple practice areas because we're developing not just specialists, but also leaders. So the staff judge advocate, who is the general counsel of an office, should have the ability to touch multiple areas, may not be an expert in every area, but should be able to lead an office and advise a general officer, usually a 2-star general, and some, of course, 3- and 4-star generals, as you get more senior in various areas of practice and be comfortable knowing that they're getting to the right place.
This has just been so incredible getting all this information from you, General Sullivan. Is there anything else you want to tell our viewers? I know that I've asked a lot of questions, but would you mind sharing anything else that they should know?
One thing I'd say is while you're in law school, keep your mind open. Don't decide your first year that you're going to be a corporate litigator in the in-house office of a corporation. Don't decide your first or second year that you're going to just do wills and estates and that's it for you. Leave your mind open. Try to develop something special for yourself. But the process of applying to firms and applying to companies and applying to the Army JAG Corps, the Navy JAG Corps, the Air Force, or the Marine Corps, Department of Energy, any other government agency, just understand that process sometimes helps to pick you. So don't close yourself off. Go ahead and grab that process by from Texas we say grab the bull by the horns. Take those things that come to you in practice like nobody's business when you get it, and take care of it, because that's your reputation you're building. You might like an area of practice that chooses you. And then as you progress on, you may switch an area of law. But it's very difficult, I think, for a first or second year law student to choose right then what it is they want to do. I wanted to be a corporate lawyer, and a mentor by the name of Roscoe Howard, who was my evidence professor at Kansas. He was later the U.S. Attorney of the District of Columbia, but he had been a prosecutor in the Eastern District of Virginia. And one thing that he helped me understand was you might think you want to be a corporate lawyer, but he asked me to really give prosecution a try. And I can tell you, first time I ever hopped into a courtroom and prosecuted the first case as an intern in the DA's office, that bug had bitten me forever. So that's the advice that I give.
That's incredible advice. I have to tell you, General Sullivan, you're a modest guy. You are, because your accolades and all of your achievements are just so incredibly inspiring. The ability to come from an HBCU in 1993 and to be a brigadier general today, we know you've been a trailblazer. We want to thank you for all you've done. For people you have not even met yet, you have been an inspiration for a lot of us. So I want to thank you for your service to our country, and thank you for your service to the JAG Corps, and for inspiring students from all over the country to become attorneys, because it's an important opportunity, it's an important job, it's an important profession, and so thankful to you, General.
Tracy, it's my pleasure, man. Thank you. Thank you and CLEO for everything that you do, your team. I'm looking forward to doing some development of law students and finding even more future judge advocates. But more importantly, I'm looking forward to working alongside you and doing some good things for the legal profession. Thanks.
So wonderful. Thank you, General. And we're going to see you at November 17th
Absolutely.
at the offices for our CLEO Edge reception. If you have not RSVP'd and you want to see General Sullivan in person, he'll be there with us. We're so excited. I can't wait to see you again. And I'm sure we're going to see each other as we travel the country in various different diversity conferences, encouraging folks to participate in the legal profession and to consider JAG as an opportunity for the future.
Absolutely.
Thank you again, General. Thank you again for joining us at the CLEO Edge podcast. Please visit our website, www.cleoinc.org. You can visit our website for all the information CLEO, and if you want to donate, please click the link to donate to CLEO. Every dollar counts, and we hope to see you at our CLEO Edge reception on November 17th in Washington. Until next time, have a great day.